Hey there, it's Lisa with freefaxreview.com, and today I'm reviewing Nextiva. You'll find them on the web at nextivafax.com. Nextiva offers a pretty standard range of online fax services, plus one interesting extra that I'll get to in a minute, but let's go through the standard options first. You can send and receive faxes through Nextiva's web interface or by email alone. You can also download a print driver that will allow you to fax directly from inside any Windows program that would be capable of printing. That's especially useful if you wanted to, for example, fax a doc file straight from inside Microsoft Word. Unfortunately, it looks like the driver is PC only, so for now at least, if you're a Microsoft Office user on a Mac, you're pretty much out of luck. Now, if you use Nextiva's email-to-fax capability, you address the email to the target fax number at nextivafax.com, just as you would do with about a billion other fax services. But according to the setup instructions that came when I created my Nextiva account, you actually do include deleting one right here when faxing out. Most other services would have you drop that digit. Now, I've already attached the file that I would like to act as the body of my fax. In this case, it just happens to be a photo of a bear paw print that I had laying around, and I'm going to send it just to see how well Nextiva actually does at sending faxes online. In this case, I'm using another fax service, so I'll get confirmation messages from both Nextiva and the other service once the message actually gets where it's going. In the meantime, let's take a look at Nextiva's web interface. It's pretty radical looking, as you can see, compared to most of the other online fax services that I've reviewed so far. And if you want to get a feel for what I'm talking about, you can page through some of the other reviews and see what the interfaces look like. This is pretty cool because all your incoming faxes show up right here when you first log in, and there are a number of filters that you can apply to them. But I do have one fairly large gripe with this interface. Now, most graphical interfaces use what are called tooltips. If you hover your mouse over a button that you're not sure what it does, then you'll get a little window that pops up, sometimes they're yellow, and it'll tell you what that button is labeled as doing, and sometimes there's even a little lengthier explanation attached to it. But Nextiva hasn't done that. So in one of their other windows, I was reduced to randomly clicking around to try and figure out the function of a few not-so-obvious buttons. Anyway, that's my isolated rant, but as far as I can tell, their interface is actually fairly easy to navigate, and like I said, it does have a different look than the others, so if it appeals to you, that's fabulous. We're going to send a test fax now, and it looks like it's a multi-step process. I've already filled in the target fax number right here, and I'm going to select No Cover Page. I have the option of scheduling a fax, although I can't schedule it right down to the hour. I'm going to send it immediately, and I'll just give it a quick subject. And we'll go on to the next step. And I'll just send the same image of a bear print here, although I could just as easily have attached a doc file or a PDF. I'm not going to send to anybody else. I'm going to try and skip the filters if it'll let me. And off it goes. I hope. Okay, so it's queued for delivery, and now we're just going to sit around here and wait until we get the confirmation message. In the meantime, let's actually take a look at the pricing for Nextiva. So they really only offer three basic plans. You pay $8.95, $17.95, or $34.95 per month if you want to go month to month. In exchange, you get 500, 1,000, or 3,000 free fax pages. That's actually a really good deal, and if you're willing to commit to an annual plan, you can save a lot. For example, up here, the basic 500 per pages month plan goes down to $4.95 a month, or about a penny per faxed page. And that's just a great deal. You'd be hard-pressed to beat that with any of the other fax services online. If you exceed your allowance of free pages per month, you're only going to pay about 3 cents per overage page, and again, that's really hard to beat. It's the best I've seen outside of corporate plans. And the only other service off the top of my head that matches that is MetroFax, which actually has a fairly close pricing schema for the monthly plans as well. So let's see, what else? You can port your existing fax numbers over to Nextiva. That's nice. Pretty much the only thing that you cannot do with Nextiva is get a toll-free number. Right now, they only offer local fax numbers, and some of those area codes are only available, that didn't come out right at all. They only have area codes available in certain states. So, for example, you can't get an area code in Alaska, and you can't get an area code in Alabama, and I'm sure there are a few others that I didn't notice, but you can get local numbers for most states. Now, on to the really kind of interesting perk about Nextiva that I mentioned earlier. They offer you a chance to send faxes using your ordinary fax machine, the old-fashioned type that used ink and paper, and a special adapter that connects it to Nextiva's service. I think that's actually pretty interesting for anyone that, for example, works in a medical office and has a lot of people that you don't want to have to retrain to use an online fax service, or you have a lot of straight paper documents that you need to fax anyway, like written prescriptions or medical records. You can still walk right up to the fax and fax your prescriptions or medical records or anything else as usual with pretty much no learning curve required, but you also have the security of knowing that you can route incoming faxes to your email instead of having them sitting there on the fax machine where they're not really completely confidential since anybody could walk by and see them. Oh, and also, this is just a side note, but maybe it'll matter to some of you, Nextiva is the only fax service I've seen so far that's certified carbon-free. Okay, let's go see what's going on as far as email confirmations. There's nothing here yet, and actually, this is interesting. This is the third test email that I have sent with Nextiva. The first one that I sent from the email interface took more than 5 minutes to get where it was going, and I wasn't sure if that was a problem with Nextiva or with the other online fax service that I sent to. The second one got where it was going in under a minute, and that's pretty much standard for a good speed fax transmission. But it looks like the third one is taking another few minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and pause the video and wait until until the confirmation comes in, knowing that it might take a little while. I'll be right back in a couple minutes for me and just a second or two for you. Okay, I'm back, and it's really only been about a minute. Now, this is confirmation that MyFax, which is another online fax service, has received the fax that I sent from the email interface with Nextiva. And if you look over here, it'll actually tell you in the confirmation email from Nextiva itself how long it took to send the fax. And in this case, it was 6 minutes and 5 seconds. So that's a really long time by internet fax standards, even sending an image file like I did, because the image file actually wasn't that big. It was less than 5,000 kilobytes. And I still haven't received any confirmation for the fax that I sent from Nextiva's web interface. So once again, I'll put the video on hold. Okay, I'm back again, and I finally just got confirmation that the fax that I sent through Nextiva's web interface has gotten where it's going. In this case, I sent it to another fax service called MetroFax that I'll talk a little bit more about in just a second here. You already heard me mention them because their pricing plan is very similar to Nextiva's. And here's the confirmation from Nextiva. Again, this fax took more than 6 minutes to transmit, so again, it really just depends on whether your priority is dirt cheap pricing, which Nextiva definitely has, or reasonably fast faxing, which they apparently do not have. With that said, that wraps up my review of Nextiva. Like I've said, in terms of pricing, they're a really great choice, but I am concerned by the irregularities in fax times. Nonetheless, they do offer a 30-day free trial, so you can try them out for yourself and you have absolutely nothing to lose. Maybe you'll have better results than I did. And then in the meantime, I mentioned MetroFax before. I would suggest that if you like Nextiva, have a look at MetroFax also for the sake of comparison, because they're very, very close in terms of price. MetroFax also has a great web interface. It's very easy to navigate. and I haven't had quite the same issues with them that I had with Nextiva during these tests. Also, MetroFax gives you the option of possibly getting a toll-free fax number, and you can find that review as well as many others at freefaxreview.com.